Do you ever notice it? The moment someone gets close enough to see the real you, your guard shoots up. You stop replying to texts, you make excuses, you say you need space. Deep down, you want connection more than anything. But when it's finally there, you find yourself pushing it away. Why? Why do we sometimes sabotage the very closeness we crave? This isn't just a random quirk of personality. According to psychologist John Bowlby, the father of attachment theory, the answer runs much deeper into the way you first learned about love, safety, and trust. Stick with me until the end, because by the time we're done, you'll not only understand why this happens, but you'll see how you can finally break free from the cycle. John Bowlby wasn't just another academic lost in theories and research papers. He was a British psychiatrist in the mid-20th century, working with children who had been separated from their parents during and after World War II. And what he noticed was both heartbreaking and groundbreaking. These children weren't only suffering because of hunger, illness, or poverty. They were suffering because they had been separated from the people who made them feel safe. Bowlby saw children who had enough food, enough shelter, even clean clothes, yet they were emotionally withdrawn, distressed, and unable to thrive. Why? Because children don't just need physical care. They need an emotional anchor. They need someone to turn to when the world feels overwhelming. They need a bond that says, you are safe, you are loved, you can depend on me. This became the foundation of what Bowlby called attachment theory. At its heart, attachment theory is simple but profound. The way we first connect or fail to connect with our caregivers shapes every relationship that follows. Bowlby described this as your internal working model, a mental map you carry inside about love, closeness, and safety. If your caregivers were consistent, if they noticed when you were upset, comforted you, and responded to your needs, you developed a map that says, love is safe, people can be trusted, closeness feels good. That's what psychologists now call a secure attachment. But not everyone grew up with that kind of consistency. If your caregivers were distant, preoccupied, unpredictable, or even overwhelming, you learned a different lesson. Love is uncertain. Closeness can hurt. My needs might not be met, or they might be too much for others to handle. And so as an adult, you might feel torn in two directions. Part of you craves intimacy, longs for connection, desperately wants to be seen. But another part of you is terrified of what might happen if you let someone too close. Will they leave? Will they reject you? Will they see the parts of you you've kept hidden? This is the tension at the core of so many relationship struggles. And it isn't random. It's your attachment map at work. So if you've ever asked yourself, why do I run from the very closeness I desire? Bowlby's theory offers the missing puzzle piece. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Not every attachment map looks the same. The way your story plays out depends on which attachment style you developed, and understanding those differences is the key to understanding yourself. One of the most common patterns that explains pushing people away is called avoidant attachment. Here's how it works. As a child, if you experienced caregivers who weren't emotionally available or who dismissed your needs, you learned that showing emotions wasn't safe. You learned that closeness comes with rejection or disappointment. So you adapted. You learned to suppress your needs. You became self-reliant. You built walls. Fast forward to adulthood, and those walls show up in relationships. You might enjoy intimacy at first, but once it gets too deep, alarms start ringing inside. Vulnerability feels risky. Depending on someone feels dangerous. So you pull back. Maybe you've caught yourself thinking, they're too clingy. I need more space. I don't want to lose my freedom. But underneath those thoughts is fear. Fear of being hurt, fear of being abandoned, fear of being seen too fully. And this is the paradox. Avoidant attachment isn't about not wanting love. It's about wanting it so badly, but fearing the pain that might come with it. If this resonates, you're not alone. And this is exactly why we dive into these topics every week. So if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Together, we're untangling the hidden patterns that shape our lives. But here's the thing. Pushing people away isn't your personality. It's a survival strategy, and that's where Bowlby's theory gives us hope. Here's something most people never hear. The reason you push people away isn't your fault. According to John Bowlby, attachment styles are not personality flaws. They are adaptive responses, survival strategies your younger self developed in order to make sense of the world. In other words, what you now experience as sabotaging relationships once served as a way of keeping you safe. Think of it like this. Imagine a baby crying for comfort. They're hungry, scared, or simply need closeness. But no one comes. Or worse, someone comes, but instead of soothing, they scold, dismiss, or ignore. That child, unable to make sense of the neglect, learns an unspoken lesson. I can't rely on others. If I show my needs, I'll only be disappointed. I need to shut them down and handle everything on my own. That is not dysfunction. That's adaptation. That baby's brain is doing exactly what it must to survive in an environment where love feels unsafe or unpredictable. Fast forward to adulthood, and the same pattern shows up in your relationships. You long for closeness, but when intimacy arrives, alarms go off inside you. That protective voice says, don't lean in, don't get too close. Remember what happened last time? So you retreat, you distance yourself, you push people away. Here's the truth. This doesn't mean you're broken, cold, or incapable of love. It means your younger self found a strategy that worked in the past. Distance kept you safe when closeness felt dangerous. And here's the payoff. Once you understand this, everything changes. Instead of shaming yourself for sabotaging, instead of saying, what's wrong with me? You can reframe it. This isn't me being defective. This is me protecting myself with the tools I had at the time. But here's the good news. Adaptation doesn't have to be destiny. Bowlby believed that attachment is not fixed in stone. It is fluid, flexible, and capable of being reshaped. The same patterns that once helped you survive can be unlearned, rewritten, and replaced with new ones. And the key to that transformation? It lies in how you approach relationships now. Because every safe connection, every experience of trust, every moment of letting someone in, it rewrites your internal map. Slowly, steadily, you can teach your nervous system that closeness isn't the danger it once was. So remember, the fact that you push people away today doesn't mean you're doomed to repeat that pattern forever. It simply means you're carrying an old survival story. And stories, no matter how deeply written, can always be rewritten. So how do you stop pushing people away? Let's start here. You don't fix this overnight. Attachment patterns are habits built over years, and habits don't vanish with a single insight, but they can be reshaped through awareness, patience, and safe experiences of closeness. Step 1, awareness. The next time you catch yourself retreating, ignoring a text, canceling plans, or suddenly feeling suffocated, pause. Don't judge yourself. Instead, ask, what am I protecting myself from right now? Maybe it's fear of rejection. Maybe it's fear of being seen too clearly. Or maybe it's fear that if you depend on someone, they'll disappear. Whatever the answer, naming the fear loosens its grip. Awareness creates a gap between the trigger and your reaction, a gap where you can choose differently. Step 2, gradual vulnerability. Many people think healing means throwing the doors wide open, but that's not how the nervous system works. If closeness feels unsafe, forcing yourself into it will only reinforce the fear. Instead, start small. Share one vulnerable thought. Accept one offer of help. Let someone in just a little. Each time you survive that closeness and nothing bad happens, your brain updates its map. It learns, oh, maybe intimacy doesn't have to hurt. Step 3, seek secure connections. This is where Bowlby's work gives us hope. He believed healing happens not in isolation, but in the context of safe, consistent relationships. That might be therapy, it might be a friendship where you feel truly accepted, or it might be a partner who respects your pace and doesn't pressure you. These relationships act like corrective experiences. They show your nervous system a new truth. Closeness can be steady, safe, and nourishing. And here's the most important part. Pushing people away doesn't mean you don't want love. It means you've been protecting yourself the only way you knew how. That defense once kept you safe, but it doesn't have to run your life forever. You're not doomed to repeat the same push-pull cycle. You have the power to choose a new way, to build a new attachment story that feels safer, freer, and more open. If this video has opened something in you, take a second to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because in our next video, we'll go even deeper into how to actually build secure love, even if you've spent your whole life avoiding it. And trust me, you won't want to miss that. Let's bring this full circle. You push people away when they get too close, not because you're unlovable, not because you're broken, but because once upon a time, closeness didn't feel safe. John Bowlby's work reminds us our attachment patterns are written in childhood, but they are not written in stone. Every small step toward vulnerability, every safe connection, every moment you allow yourself to be seen is a step toward rewriting that map. So next time you feel yourself pulling back, pause. Remember, you're not broken. You're protecting yourself the only way you knew how. And if this video spoke to you, subscribe and turn on the bell, because next time we're breaking down how to actually build secure love, step by step. You don't have to face this journey alone. Let's take the next step together.